those of you that have been around the channel for a while now probably recognize that blue bike in the back and know who that belongs to. But I've done a lot of videos since that bike was in any videos, and I thought I would do a little introduction, we'll say, to some of the other people that you're going to start seeing on this channel. For a long time, I kept this channel basically just me and the shop stuff and just my racing, my bike. I thought it'd be kind of cool to start kind of spreading the love a little bit, and why not start showing some of the other stuff that we run. And we're gonna go meet who owns this bike, and we got some funny stories to share. So this video is gonna be a longer one, but I think you'll get a kick out of it. So if you're into the longer videos or you just want something to kind of play in the background, this will be similar to, like, I did a live feed the other night. We're just chatting. This video is not gonna be a bunch of jumping around to clips of anything. So we're just chatting and telling some stories. I thought it would be kind of funny to let you know where this bike came from, who's running it, so you can kind of associate that person with, you know, that bike and when you see it on the channel. And we'll go from there. But I think you'll get a kick out of this. So who is this person? Let's go find out. So this is who owns the blue Busa in my garage. She's been in a couple other videos where we've actually been down racing, but it's been a while. It's been like 2 years, roughly.
But see, here's what we figured out. Although I want to race, I have a better chance of living if I'm not around motorcycles and Chris.
Yeah, I don't have a very good track record of, like, getting her bike down the track safely.
Or me.
You're not worried about. I'm worried about the motors.
This is going to be the longest lasting motor in history in my bike because I'm not racing.
Every time I put a motor together, she manages to blow it up. She included one in my bike.
Do I want to race? Yes, I want to race.
But we thought...
Oh yeah, that time that
Yeah.
the only way I could describe it is it made your motorcycle sound like a helicopter.
And yeah, when a rod goes, it sounds like a helicopter.
That's how I learned what that sound
That was the first
sounds
motor.
like.
That was the first motor you wrecked, wasn't it? It was mine.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, because her motor was stock forever. And then, yeah, we'll get into that. So what we thought we'd do is like a 9 lives video. And
Why? Because we were riding and...
Start with the Supermoto one?
No, this all came up because like 2 weeks ago, we went on a ride just on the dirt bikes for dinner. And we were on the way home, and we passed an industrial park where...
okay, I remember this now.
Where I learned how to do burnouts, like, forever ago. And so we have Cena headsets, and we were talking in our helmets about all the times that I've nearly died because of you.
I come up with these harebrained ideas and situations that I get her in, and miraculously she hasn't died yet.
And the list kept growing.
So we were rattling off all the different times where I may have been involved in a near death for her. So
You were definitely involved in all of them.
It is allegedly involved.
So we had a really good list, and then we came up with an added one, which tops. We have them written out because
we had to actually make a list. We were coming up with so many ideas, so we tried to actually put them in order, but they might move around a little bit. But that's how we started. Was from like the beginning of all the different times I nearly killed her, but. It got to be so funny while we were out on the ride with the headsets. I said, we should make a video of this because this is pretty funny. That I don't think two people have had this many close calls. In how many years have you been riding?
12.
12? And then you started racing pretty quick. You only had
4 months.
Yeah.
4 months
later.
later.
I was going to say, 4 or 6 months. So yeah, 4 months after her first bike of her own street ride, she was out drag racing already. So the first 4 months was where I squeaked in quite a bit of education.
Haven't died yet. Try harder.
Yeah. I had to come up with several different ways to try to get her killed.
So the very first time that I recall, that we recall.
Yeah, this was pretty early on in her riding because she was still learning, like, street riding and clutch control, and.
Can we back up for just a second and explain how I learned to ride?
How you
that fall day.
Oh yeah, you can tell that story.
So the very condensed version of this story goes, I had ridden with him as a passenger on the bike that he races right now for the longest time, and everybody knew that I rode around with Chris, and we were hanging out with some friends on a fall Sunday afternoon, and one of the guys who we know just said something to the effect of, if you have a hair on your balls, you're going to learn how to ride today.
Exactly how it went.
And I guess I couldn't really say no. Like, I was nervous, but I couldn't say no. So he went and got his wife's Suzuki Savage out of the garage, and
like a little street cruiser.
Kind of like a Sportster, yeah.
Yeah, like a mini Sportster. It was like a single cylinder.
Looked similar.
Yeah, like a, I don't know, they're like a 650 maybe.
So the bike ends up in the middle of this road. It's just, like a rural area. And they put me in the middle of the road, and I paid enough attention to him when we were riding that.
Well, you had tried my four-wheeler at one point.
Oh, yeah, but that was totally different.
But you still understood. Yeah, she had an understanding of what the clutch and what the shifter does. So she wasn't going into this, like, completely blind, but as far as, like, clutch, throttle, shift on a two-wheeler with your feet up, this was the first time.
First time. So they say, just go down to the end of the road, stop, we'll come get you, turn you around, and come back. Remember, the clutch will save you. That's some terrible directions. So I got on the bike, got down to the end of the road, and
put our turn signal on and went around the block.
That was it. I'm not one to quit. I wasn't just gonna stop.
She apparently knew more than we thought.
So everybody else was like not surprised, and they're like, "Yeah, awesome."
Gets to the end of the street and starts cruising around.
Do you think that's the first time you had a heart attack?
Oh God, I didn't know what to think. I thought we were gonna go to the other side of the block.
Didn't you start running?
I did. I started running around the block the other way. I figured we'd find her in a ditch or out in a cornfield.
No, that did not happen. So we went and did some practice riding in a golf course.
Yeah, it was a golf course with a nice little twisty road going through it.
And then found my Suzuki GSXR 600 at...
How fast did you get that bike after that whole... From when you first rode the Savage, how fast did you get the 600?
My black bike?
Yeah.
I thought it was like 10.4 in the quarter mile. Remember there was
No, I meant like, what was the time span between when you learned
within a month.
Yeah,
within a month. It was like learned how to ride in September and owned my bike in October.
Yeah, so
it was like a month.
Never owned a two-wheeler
like
to having a GSXR 600.
Yeah. And then...
That was a whole nother ordeal getting that bike.
Yeah. Everything worked out just like it was supposed to. So that was that. So then, learning how to ride, we are out on the road, and Chris took me on a route.
We had rode around like a good bit before this route, so she was still kind of just getting a feel for just being like street aware, kind of. And I don't like riding myself in a bunch of like city traffic. When I go riding, it's usually by myself with her, a couple other people, and we go out of town where there's nothing. So
It's not far though. Like out of
yeah,
town.
we don't have to go far to get out of town.
To get to nothing is close. So we were out riding some, beautiful roads that we know,
It was fall.
Yeah,
it was still fall.
in an area that we were familiar with, and we were, I think at that point, because of the direction we were going, we were gonna head back home.
Yeah. So we were north of home. Doing like some scenic riding, but I think it was starting to get later in the evening or something that we would have been coming home.
It wasn't dark out, I remember that.
Right. But I think
the darkness that I saw was nearly death.
the area we were in is kind of like touristy on the weekends, and we're coming up to a stop sign that happens to be on an incline on a hill, and now there's like touristy traffic out in the area.
This was before Cena's in our helmets.
Yeah, no headsets yet. So I don't think nothing of it, because I'm like, we're coming up on a country road. We're coming up to like a main like highway.
2-lane highway.
And the stop sign is uphill, curve to the right. You got to stop, wait for traffic before you pull out. And it never really dawned on me that she's never done like an uphill start on a motorcycle. So I'm almost positive I heard you laughing.
Well, I think I was shouting for help.
Probably.
Was what it was, and Chris was next to me at one point.
There's traffic, so we're both sitting there and
yelling directions.
Yeah, there's an opening, and I just go. There's no big deal. And
it's a balance between the clutch and the throttle.
That's what I figured out. She had.
You got this.
Next thing I know, she's cranking away from that stop sign.
Because I killed it a lot, and now my extra strength deodorant is working overtime because I'm sweating pits because traffic's backing up behind me. He's gone, probably back in the other county by now.
She figured it out.
I did.
That was trial by fire. That's the way to learn.
Terrible. I should have known at that moment that.
Did you ever struggle on an uphill start after that?
Sure, but yes, yes, but
okay, nothing I taught her worked.
It worked. It definitely worked. I think at one point we took the time, and we were someplace, and you took the time with me to tell me exactly how to test out how a clutch works on a hill.
Sure, I kind of.
So, like the balance between throttle and clutch, and
not rolling backwards.
Yeah, not rolling backwards. Let the clutch hold you, because I don't think at that point. Yes, I had kit, so I knew how to drive stick, and I was driving stick every day, and I think that's what you equated it to for me was.
Yeah,
I did.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So that was
one
scenario one.
There was just a lot of traffic, and I almost got run over and squashed to death
because I just took off out into traffic.
What the hell are you supposed to do in a moment like that? Like,
I think something tells me I said go. I yelled go or something.
I think
we're going or something.
And I was going.
So after that, we did a bunch more street riding. No real incidents after that up until we started getting you to the track.
And then it all went downhill.
And that was this next incident. That was after you'd been racing a while.
Because
we did this to get like every last little bit. So I was gonna bunch of street riding. We're out all the time riding, and then her 600. We ended up putting a little arm on it, geared it, lowered it, like every trick in the book, and
just trying to get the most out of it.
Yeah, and at one point we were doing everything we could to try to get this thing to go 9s, because she was going like rock bottom 10s all the time at this point on a 600, and so I came up with the idea of let's take the air filter out.
Keep in mind, he just said, I came up with the idea.
I just incriminated myself. Let's take the air filter out. Let's see if it helps at all. Get a little more air in the motor, see if it starts picking up.
Airbox mods, right?
Yeah, airbox mod.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember what you ran on that pass, but she went up to make a pass, and where'd it go from there?
I got to the end and couldn't stop. So made a 1/4-mile rip, and I mean, now I think of it, like a 10-second pass feels so different than passes that I've been making the last couple years. But I get to the end, and as a new rider and racer, it just wanted to keep going. Like, I let out of the throttle, started on the brakes, and it wasn't braking. Like the RPMs were not coming down, and we weren't slowing down. And I remember Chris saying, "The clutch will always save you." So I pulled in the clutch, and the RPMs revved, and so I didn't know what to do beside hold in the clutch, hit the kill switch, and coast it out. So I got to the end, and I don't know how. I think I might have let somebody down there know
Yeah, I think they
needed
radioed
you
back to
up
us
top.
up at the starting line that she needed help. So we get down there, and she starts the bike up, and it just RPMs just crank off, and we're like, "What the hell is that all about?" I think did we push it all the way back down the return road on that one too?
Probably. I mean, we were pretty good at
Yeah, we
Hiking
put
it.
Yeah, the
pushing motorcycles quarter
half mile push
away.
on a motorcycle is not too bad.
But I think when I got through the like past the boards, I think I was, and all this was happening. I think it was like, what do I do, and how do I stop? And I'm losing shutdown quickly, and I know the sand is beyond that, and I'm not gonna ride into sand. And I mean, everything was going through my mind. Like I needed to get this bike stopped, and it worked. But the thought process and how much happens in that time.
You just reminded me of another near-death experience.
Oh God.
Not so
Okay,
great with
let's-
the brakes. The Supermoto,
What?
the front brake bolt.
Oh, that, yes! Wait, okay.
We'll squeak that in
That
there.
one will go by dirt bike road crash.
These are funny now, but goddamn, I'm an idiot.
So on the topic of racing, the next one is in order.
We didn't finish what caused the throttle blade though.
Oh, go ahead, yeah.
So we get back to the pits, and we try to figure out why when you start it, the idle just freaking takes off. Pull the airbox apart, and when I pulled the air filter out, I didn't realize there was a little gasket down in the groove where the air filter sits. It's just like an O-ring sized gasket, and that actually popped out and got sucked into one of the throttle bodies, and actually had the throttle blades basically almost like rubber banded open. So that was
not
wild.
guilty. Not guilty.
I'm pretty sure I hurled that O-ring or that gasket across the pits.
I saved my own day.
Yeah, I felt pretty bad about almost killing her. Now I regret it.
But you keep trying. Like, that's what I don't get. So then
I
that
have
does
more
lead
ways
in.
still.
That leads into the next one. I'm glad you're plotting and scheming.
Always plotting.
I needed to learn to do burnouts.
Burnout school.
Chris had sent me down the track for a while there on a street tire on the 600.
Burnouts are secondary. She just needed to get down the track.
Sometimes I did. One time I didn't.
I feel like the burnout school was before the throttle blades, because the throttle blades you were already ripping.
Probably.
Yeah, you were getting close to 9s on that deal.
Yeah.
And you already knew how to do burnouts. So these are a little bit out of order, but you'll get it. So yeah, there was
Still
the burnout
early
school.
on. Yeah, burnout school. Chris is like, oh yeah, we're just going to go out to a country road out here, beautiful sunny day, and we're just on this country road. This, you got to do this and this, but you got to do this, and you kind of got to hold this, but kind of let that out. But don't let it out all the way. And I was confused, and I was lost, and I was scared, and
I understood what I was saying.
try to do burnouts on a dry country road. That didn't work.
It didn't
I
work.
tried.
There was a lot of lurching and a lot of clutch slippage.
And I
But-
think we aborted that mission because
did.
you were very concerned about my clutch.
Yeah. Well, you didn't try like all that many times. Like I wasn't concerned about damage, but I figured that technique wasn't, or that method wasn't working at the time. So I just came up with another plan. We would try something different later.
Totally casually, just like out on a ride one night. I think you mentioned let's go riding and try this
Yeah.
again. You had a bottle of water with you, and we went to an industrial park,
Yeah.
which is where we passed recently. That started this whole list in our minds.
Yeah.
So burnout school there was successful.
Yeah.
It was caught on film.
I just poured a little puddle with a water bottle and gave her the refresher on the clutch and the throttle deal, and she nailed it. Like probably first try. I think your third
Yeah.
attempt, you actually rolled it out.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
she did
so.
like a
I
couple
figured
just
it out
stationary
then.
in the water, and then I told her to start working on rolling it out. Just let off the front brake, and just use the throttle and your weight to steer it. And by the third pass, she was rolling burnouts. I said third pass, but third attempt,
Yeah.
doing rolling burnouts. Then we knew at that point that was time to start going to the track.
So
Okay.
the throttle blades happened after that. The whole clutch chatter thing happened sometime after
Yeah,
or around the throttle blades.
yeah.
I was making passes at the track, and like successfully doing well, like trying for more, just
We were doing everything to this bike.
yeah, but like riding well, like doing a good job, and then
The only reason it went as fast as it did is because she figured out how to ride this fucking thing.
what like I was on the line, I'd
don't-
leave, and
Yeah.
it would like
Yeah, like,
chatter and
She normally has like a super smooth and clean 60 foot, and I know it was something I did, but just out of nowhere the bike was it was lurching real bad, just chugging and kind of bouncing a little bit, and I was kind of giving her shit about she's got to get back to like sliding the clutch.
It wasn't
and
kinda,
give
it
it
was
some
a
more
lotta.
throttle. And, I was trying to give her ideas of what to change when nothing I was telling her was actually going to fix the problem. I
was pleading for my life on this one
She
that
kept
it
telling me it's
wasn't
not
me.
right.
It's not me.
So then I think I rode the bike.
You did. You took it out
I
to
tried
the-
to ride it, and I was like, wow, something's not right here. And
You took it out like down long staging or
Yeah.
like out in the pits
That's what it was.
to give it a try
and
to replicate the problem.
right now I'm struggling to remember what I did to the clutch that created this problem, but I think offhand, I think I started adding shims. I think I added shims to the clutch springs, and when she would pull the clutch in, the springs would bind, and it wasn't like, I don't know. That's the only idea I got in my head is I was binding up the clutch springs, and it wasn't fully disengaging the clutch, and then it was bouncing real bad.
Hasn't happened since.
Yeah, we went back to just a totally like stock setup where I didn't have to fuck with it, and then all of a sudden she was good at riding again. So
I got really bad and then I got really good. It
Yeah.
was all me.
So there was a couple times when it was trying to launch, got kind of sketchy, and she was hanging in there. She was pleading her case, and I wasn't believing it until I rode
Do
it.
you believe me now?
Yeah, I believe you
You
now.
believe me now. I think there were a couple times in the last 12 years where I was pleading my case. Please believe me. You did not believe me.
I don't ride her bikes really, so I gotta start taking her word for
So
it.
then what would be next? With what, I would say that the nitrous bottle up at WIR
Probably because I think
is next on the list.
Yeah, because shortly after.
We
Yeah,
didn't really have any major problems when...
we just kind of got the 600 to go. It went nine something.
No, I think I never got into the nines on it.
That was that whole deal, that argument. You had a 1 9-second pass out of it. It was like right before you quit
I
riding.
thought it was a 10-4. I thought it was a 10-4 slip.
Oh man, I could have swore it went a 9 something.
I think my best on it was like a 10-4, and then there was a big hubbub on the internet. An internet argument about whether or not I could actually do that.
Yeah, this is a while ago at this point. This has got to be 6 years ago.
More than that.
Is
Cause,
it?
yeah, so that, I would say it had to have been in like, what year is it now? 22? I'd
Yeah.
say 2013 maybe.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because then I rode yours, and then
Oh,
I
yeah, I forgot
bought
that.
the blue bike in 2014, 15, because I rode it when it was red.
Yeah, because she got to the
owned
point.
it when it was blue.
She got to the point where the 600 was actually, she had it pretty much maxed out, and at the time, I think we were trying to figure out like how to get her comfortable with going faster.
We were talking
And
too
that's-
about if we could put a 1000 motor in it.
Yeah, we were trying to
And
figure out
that-
what her next step was going to be.
So my next step for like a season was to ride your bike. It wasn't nearly
Yeah,
what
we
it
kind of
was
shared
now.
it a little bit. Like I'd make changes and run it, and then let her class race it a little bit and make test passes and see how fast she
Do
could
big
go.
wheelies on it. Make Chris poop his pants watching.
What did you run on my bike? I almost probably went like 880 or something with it.
No, I never went that fast on it.
Really?
I'm positive.
Okay.
Yeah, because the first time, yeah.
I was looking
Yeah.
through old videos that aren't on the actual channel,
Mm-hmm.
and I got some videos on there you running that bike.
Yeah, I never got into
I'd
the
have to
eights
look.
on.
Maybe it was 980.
Yeah.
I know you ended up going pretty fast on it. I just
Yeah.
remember one particular pass. But
And then I came into the blue bike that I have now, the Busa. And then it's been as wild of a ride
it was rock solid reliable forever.
forever.
That
But
one-
I mean, we were talking, I don't even remember how many. I've kept every time slip that I've ever gotten. Just stacks on stacks of time slips. And Like I don't even remember how many miles of passes I made in a few seasons back to back. Like the very best season I had at the height before everything let go was, I think, 17. I think 17 was the very best season I had, and then we started having troubles. So what would
So there was no issues with the Busa basically until the Cordova deal.
Yeah. So did the nitrous battle at WIR happen before that? It had to have, right?
Yeah, you're right, because that Cordova, that was the last breath that motor breathed.
Before the last breath of that motor, we were up at WIR running the top 10 bike
north
list.
of here.
So Wisconsin International Raceway in Kaukauna, and this is the track where BC was commenting on the live last night.
Yeah.
With you and Mike, so this track has like a bump in the right lane, right toward the end, and then it's like a 45-degree incline up into a cul-de-sac where you turn around to then go like 1,500 feet as a return road, which is facing the oncoming left lane, and then you duck off to the side quick.
It's pretty messed up, honestly.
I don't know. There's no safety involved in any part of that.
The shutdown is an uphill right-hand turn. So if you miss the turn for the return road on the left, you have to go all the way up this turnaround and come back down. And basically you're driving into oncoming traffic on a live racetrack. And
even, it's not even like missing the shutdown. It's if you're going fast, it's kind of hard to like get up and get on the brakes and then make that left-hand turn off. So a lot of people maximize the space that's there and go up further.
Yeah, it's just, it's not a cool setup. But anyway,
so I'm on a pass in the right lane and get toward the end of the track, still like full throttle, and feel like an upset in the bike, like I ran something over. And I wasn't sure in that moment what it was. I looked down as best I could, like through my arm to see, and I couldn't tell what it was. So I'm going up the hill to turn around and come back down on the return road, or to go off on the return road. Yeah. And I see my nitrous bottle laying in the track, in the middle of the track, and what had happened was...
Let's see what happened.
What had happened was...
well...
What happened, Chris?
I don't remember putting the bottle in the bike.
The bottle was in the bike, though.
Then it wasn't in the bike. At some point, it must have just rattled or something. Maybe I didn't have it tight. Who's to say? But the bottle actually slid out of the bracket, and she drove over the hose. Well, the bottle valve and the hose part, because that was all mangled and broke. And the bottle, went skidding across the track, evacuating its contents. We thought it was a motor at first because we saw all the smoke or the cloud from the starting line.
So I was separated from them by this...
Nitrous cloud.
Oh, yeah, a nitrous cloud, because there's a nitrous bottle loose on the track. It hits the wall. Didn't the nozzle break on it?
Yeah, it broke the bottle valve.
So a white cloud of gas is everywhere, and they can see that, but they can't see me, and I can see that, but I can't see them. So there's no way of me letting anybody know that I'm fine. Paramedics weren't letting anybody know that, like, I was fine. I didn't dump the bike or anything. I ran it over. I ran over a nitrous bottle.
With the back tire.
Full throttle with the back tire.
So there was that time.
Kept the bike up. Lived to tell about it. Here we are, still alive. So then wouldn't that lead us to...
That would be at Cordova.
Cordova. Went down there for...
That was the Street Outlaws race.
Yeah, so this guy here, it's spring. And, we've had so many near-death experiences at this point where I just need a couple passes under my belt every year before I'm good to go for the season. And you learned of this opportunity to go race at Cordova for Street Outlaws. They wanted bikes there. And it was April or May. April.
Yeah, it was pretty early.
It was very early. I
remember the drive down. I had that cold front on my truck to build heat in the cold weather.
Oh, okay.
I remember that.
So here we are, no passes under my belt, going to an event to make the first pass of the season. Isn't that when I met Doc?
That was when you met Doc.
He's a nice guy.
Doc's flirty.
That's not flirty. So we're there, and I'm holding my own. And then what happened? I was doing well.
Like, you went to...
That was the pass where I had to call it. Wasn't that?
You know what? The motor didn't... We didn't have the issue at the Street Outlaws race. It was the Battle of the Sexes thing.
That's
you
right.
raced Jenny in the final.
That's right.
We were off by one event. Anyway, yeah, cool story.
Oh yeah, but that one, but the whole that one, the Street Outlaws, that was a fun race. That was a fun event.
I didn't almost kill her at that one.
No, but I did. Wasn't that called like what was that thing called?
It was like nuclear
no prep.
Nuclear no prep.
Yeah.
Because of the power plant down there.
I held my own, went a few rounds.
Yeah, you went farther than I did. I unloaded my bike out of the trailer and blew oil filter off it. Put it back in the trailer.
I like in the videos from that day, there are people heard on the line saying, "Oh, she held her own. She gave him a run for his money. What are we gonna do? Yes, I did." So that was a good race. Then Battle of the Sexes. We went down to Battle of the Sexes race.
This was still at Cordova.
At Cordova, another time, and I made it. I think that I would have been racing in the finals.
Yeah.
So made it all the way to the finals.
So it was like after the semifinals when we heard noise. You said you heard something on return road.
I had heard something, I think 2 passes before the final race, and it sounded like a ticking, but it was such a distinct noise that I had mistaken it for, because I grabbed my time slip, put it underneath, or on my grip, under my glove, and I thought it was like the time slip, like flapping in the wind, and that wasn't it. So I had mentioned that, and then the one after that, it was a pronounced ticking. And then...
Yeah, so it was on the...
It was fine, but then when we went up to the line...
Yeah, it was right before the final. We were in the pits trying to figure out what this noise was. And the pits are all... Where we were is all kind of gravel and grass and stuff. So I didn't see anything dripping until I just happened to look down and I saw it was dripping oil. Well, it turns out it had been leaking for quite a while. It was low enough on oil that racing it that day with the steady drip, whatever was going on, pretty sure we went low on oil at some point and it knocked rod bearing out of it. So we were debating, actually, because this was going into the final round now at this point. What happened was the oil cooler block off plates on the motor, one of them actually came loose and the oil was running out of the one side. So
and that was an event too
just
where
didn't catch my eye.
The Battle of the Sexes races were cars and bikes together. So I was racing a car in the final, and I was up on the line, and we noticed oil leaking. Well, we had thought maybe it would be okay.
Yeah, we were trying to gamble on whether or not we should send her down, because she had actually a chance, if the motor stayed together, had a chance to actually win. But with not having a diaper or nothing on the bike, and
but then I think it had leaked bad enough, and it was on the line, and they noticed it.
Yeah. I knew you wanted to at least get up there and stage the bike and try to get up there and at least for the part of the show.
Staged it, and then in that time we realized that it was
she didn't make a pass.
No, and I think everything works out like it's supposed to, because Lord only knows what would have happened.
I tried to get her to make a pass.
We know.
We know. That's where this
you
story
guys,
goes into how I almost killed her. I was okay with it. I'm like, the motor's already hurt. I'm like, go run it.
I didn't even have life insurance at that time, so I don't know what this was all for.
Not that she knows of.
Oh God! I watch enough Dateline. I should know that. Chris took out life insurance on me.
I just don't make good decisions all the time, so that's how some of these are my fault.
So then, after Cordova, you refreshed my motor.
Yeah. So again, this goes on my bad. We refreshed that motor. Didn't need a whole lot of work because we caught it early enough that was no catastrophic breakage. It just knocked the rod bearing out of it, and I believe the crank was even still good. If I remember right, because I don't remember getting a crank for that motor at that time. So we were refreshing that, put it back together, and she had been racing it after I put it back together. You've been racing it for a little while.
Yeah.
Like there was at least a month of running that bike, and it never seemed to want to run. It just seemed like something was off, and it almost just seemed like it was just struggling. It never ran close to any of the ET or mile an hour that it normally would have before. And
You may or may not have said that I needed to just get my head in the game.
Yeah, I was telling her to get after it, thinking again she's just doing
sandbagging
something wrong.
it, not
It's not
riding
me.
the bike.
Clearly, it's not me. But it was me. I missed something. That motor was just tight. It ate the rod bearings out of it, and to this day, I don't know how I missed it because I check all those clearances, and I missed something. Cost her another motor. So now.
So then.
That wasn't a catastrophic failure. That motor, it basically, it turned the oil to glitter, so we knew it was gone.
Yeah.
And everything we ended up tearing that motor down.
Yeah.
And then I put another motor together with a Gen 2 crank,
Yeah.
new stock rods. The pistons were still good because nothing actually hit the head.
Yes.
We thought.
Mm-hmm.
So I put this Gen 2 crank motor back there, so like a little mini stroker. And I remember breaking it in, rode it up and down the street a little bit. Everything seemed good. And then first pass, she goes to make.
And this was during COVID shutdown.
Yeah.
When the track needed to
Test equipment.
Yeah, to test equipment. Track did need to stay open, and you don't want weeds growing up through the middle of the track. So we
found a loophole.
We got to test, thankfully, and it was early. It was May, probably of 2020.
Yeah.
And then I have learned how loud your gut can tell you something. And I had never felt like that racing that I could recall. Like going to make a pass. And Mike's dismissing it. He's like, "You're like this all the time. You always get nervous the first pass, and it's fine." Which is, he's kind of right. And you don't think anything of it because you're cool as a cucumber over there. And I did not feel good about it. Like, in my gut, hands a little shaky, felt like I was going to throw up. Like, I'm thinking about this now, like, recalling this. Go up, do a burnout, go to leave, and I noticed...
It didn't sound good from the get-go.
So I'm hearing that, and I'm seeing, like,
first
watching...
First and second gear, just from the starting line, sounded like kind of normal, but a little bit struggling. Like, almost like she was short shifting, but it just wasn't making any power.
I was short shifting. I think, in hindsight, I was short shifting without thinking I was short shifting because I was watching the RPMs, and I was needing to. I was running out of gear way too early. So I'm not even so it was a quarter mile hit, and I did not think that I'd have enough to get me to the shutdown. So I happened to clutch it, and as I clutched it, because I felt like something wasn't wrong, or I felt like something was wrong, the motor let loose.
In a big way.
Yeah, so...
The worst engine failure I've seen in anything I've had my hands in. I've seen some stuff on the internet pretty ugly, but as far as anything that we've been associated with, this is the worst motor catastrophic failure I've ever seen.
So as I grab the clutch, the bike shuts itself off, and the FI light goes on. So I look again to try to see, like, I pull over to the left side because I don't want to be in the groove piston fluids on the track, and I kind of look and I don't see anything, and I've got enough momentum and speed that I'm still moving, so I just kept off the brakes, kept moving, didn't see that I was, like, leaving a trail of anything. But meanwhile,
I don't think you left much on the track.
No, it wasn't until the very end, but you guys saw smoke.
Yeah.
On your end. But they couldn't see me in that moment.
I think the reason it didn't make a huge mess on the track is it put a hole in the cylinders. It was number 4, but it was up pretty far. So all the oil still was kind of down. It had a little spurt come out because you could see there was oil on, like, the header and stuff. But it didn't manage to get and shoot all of the oil out the bottom, out the sides, or whatever underneath it. So she got lucky that way. There was only even, I think, a little bit of oil on the tire. It must have just been a cloud that came out. That was the smoke we saw when it hit the header.
The tire definitely had, like, made a couple revolutions through some stuff. But so they're on the starting line seeing smoke. I see that I know that I'm fine and the bike is still moving. So get down to the end, turn off, pull over. And even for a while, because it took them a moment to get down there, it hadn't like started pissing anything. So then they get down there, you go to try to start it, and it's not.
Yeah, I don't think it even tried to turn over.
No.
It just fucking started, just clicked.
So that was a moment where we had probably 83 people go by and ask if we wanted to push back. And at this point, Chris was so frustrated with this damn bike.
I had now peeked in, because, Busa fairings are pretty, full. I happened to look in, and I could see the hole in the cylinders out the front of the motor, so I knew we had something major had happened. And at this point, now I'm mad, because this is the second motor that I've tried to help her with. This is her money, and I've not done good.
They're all breaking. So you've got the handlebars. I'm pushing. I don't think my CD boots are made for running. It was a quick clip on the way back, jogging along. Really, I knew not to ask anything or say anything because Chris was awfully quiet. So then we get back.
Anger's a hell of a motivator.
So we get back to the pits and I'm sweating. And I feel 100% more calm than I did before I even made that pass. So I knew that's what it was. That was it. Loaded up. And then it wasn't until like a day later.
Yeah, I think I tore it apart the next day. Just to try to figure out what happened.
So I met you at the shop.
Yeah.
And started taking everything apart. I was there for the whole surgery. And it looked like somebody had taken silver glitter and just ran it all through the motor.
Every part was junk except for the
transmission.
So I don't know what started the failure, but either reusing the stock pistons from the previous catastrophe had a bad piston that it had a crack or something in it that I didn't see, or something in the cylinder head failed where it had either it dropped a valve, it kicked the keeper out of it, or something happened, and it hit the number 4 piston, and because it's a stock cast piston, they don't have any durability. Once they start to break, they just turn to particles, and the number 4 piston is above the crank gear and the clutch basket. It sent all this metal through the clutch basket.
Wasn't there a part of the piston stuck in the crank?
Yeah, there was
like it tried to shred it through, but it stuck.
But it junked the cylinder head, it junked the upper and lower cases, junked the crank, junked the rods, all the bearings were out of it. Like, it was just, everything just fell apart. It was the worst thing I've ever seen. So we started from scratch again, found some, we got cases on eBay, didn't we?
Cases came from eBay. A bunch of stuff came from Shannon at OSR in Indiana. Didn't David find me my pistons?
David got you rods. Shannon got pistons.
Okay.
I don't remember where we got the cylinder head from. That might have been an eBay purchase too.
I think so.
Yeah. Then the crank we got from Joe Zolper. No, I'm sorry.
That was the last one.
That was the last one. Where did this crank come from?
I thought this crank might have came from.
Might have been eBay as well.
I think it would have been.
I think we did a lot of eBay on this motor. We got some good deals on stuff before everything went out of control. But yeah, so now it brings us to the current motor that's in the bike.
But in that time, I wanted to race, and so Chris had.
Oh, I forgot the ZX9.
The ZX9 still together,
yeah.
And I mean, we had been messing around with it here and there.
We were going back and forth between who had the best time on it.
And everybody was riding that thing for a while.
Yeah.
So I got to ride that for the rest of
the race a little bit.
2020, yeah, and did really good. Like for a while there, like
you won a couple races you shouldn't have.
Right, I think, yeah, definitely.
But it sucks because the ZX9 was fun to race, but it wasn't fast or competitive for what we normally do.
It was consistent.
Yeah, it was consistent, but
it was hard to figure out.
The only rounds it won is because she would ride it really good. But then, yeah, so we put together last summer was basically getting all the parts because I didn't get that thing running until fall.
Right.
Because you Yeah. So
at like, I mean, who plans to ever wreck a motor? I've never been somebody that's like, I'm gonna start racing and be super competitive and, you know, build mountain motors and whatever. I've always just wanted to have fun, and it's a casual fun hobby, so that's how we've always treated it. We never wanted the fun to be taken out of it, and I knew that I needed to be able to race within my budget, so
got parts as you can afford them.
I had no plan to buy anything. So I was just saving up a little bit here and there and buying stuff as I could, and then Chris was cleaning and assembling as stuff arrived, and then got the motor back together and running by last fall, and we went on a Sunday, I think, right? Mm-hmm. And street rode it.
Yeah, basically broke it in by just going for a street ride. So then it got parked for winter.
That was a fun street ride. Like that was fun.
Mm-hmm. Because we went a little bit everywhere.
No death experience. Like I knew where I wanted to make a loop through town, and I knew exactly where I wanted to go. And he was on it was a family affair. You were on the DRZ. Mike was following us, mm-hmm. and I was on the Busa, street riding the Busa through town. Found that guy's wallet and handed it to him in a crosswalk.
That's right.
That was a good ride.
We had a full support team to
everybody
to follow this bike.
We had Mike in the truck just in case.
Been on our side with that one.
Just in case we needed a ride. So that was good. So that was
that's where that bike sits now.
Yeah.
So we're ready to.
I think.
Basically, whenever she's got time, we'll start running it again.
Then the next near-death experience on a motorcycle was this season riding.
Yeah, this was this summer.
The Busa has not been out yet, so motors together, no near-death experiences on the Busa so far this year. So we go out riding. We're both on the DRZs.
Yeah, we're both on our Supermotos, ripping around. Out in the country again, just nobody around us. Just chattering on the headsets, just talking about nothing in particular. And we're going to go down some of my favorite like little country roads that are a little hilly, a little twisty, but we don't ride like we're racing. It's just a fun ride.
And when we're out there, Chris knows these roads, like knows what highway leads to what highway and what back road and all this. I can get myself home from anywhere. Like I know where Lake Michigan is. I know which way is east. I know how to get myself home. So while I don't know where all the roads lead to, I know how to get myself home. So I'm relying on you to tell me.
So normally I will say, I'll turn on my blinker and be like, going right or going left, whatever we're talking about. I'll just interrupt and say, going left, going right.
We've just always done it, or like big points for whatever direction we're heading.
Yeah, hang on, going left this way. Or slowing down, whatever. So we're on this country road, and I know I'm going to be turning right coming up, and I see two motorcycles coming at us, go that same direction we're going to go, and then there's a little bit of a gap, and there's two more motorcycles coming. So we're chattering away on the headsets, and I start slowing down and waving like this. I'm figuring those other two motorcycles coming at us are with the other two that just went. I don't want to get in between these two groups basically. So I'm waving these guys to go. Well, they don't go. They just come to a stop as they're coming at us, and they don't make the turn.
And I'm very confused in this moment.
She's just back off my right side. Because
we don't have a stop sign. So he's being courteous.
No, we're on the main road. We're going to turn onto a road that has a stop sign for cross.
So the people on the sides are stopped. He's being courteous, letting these guys stay together. I'm just following the leader. Yeah, because I'm confused.
So when I was waving them, and when they didn't go, they stopped, and we're going to wait for us to turn to the right. I don't recall if I turned on my turn signal or not, but I know I didn't tell her we're turning right here. It was just one of my favorite roads I like taking. That's the way I was going to go. So luckily, we were slowed way down because I was going to let these guys go. So we had already been, the speed was out of this. I go to start turning right, and
I'm going
bing, Michelle's right there. It was like she straight up tried to block past me in a motocross turn.
We crashed.
Luckily, it was a slow speed deal, and
it was slow speed, and we were offset enough that we weren't tangled up.
Yeah, like our handlebars didn't get tangled up. We kind of bumped like shoulders and legs a little bit. But
oh my god!
she just bink, bumped into me, and we just continued on with our turn. And I just kept on riding.
What happened? I'm like, I crashed you. I don't know. What happened?
I'm like, I don't know. Just kept riding and ignored like it even happened.
I didn't. I'm like, I'm sorry.
She was
100
so
million
worked
times.
up that she did something wrong. And I'm like, it was a mistake.
Because I know that, like, what do you say about the buckets? One is skill and one is luck.
You got a luck bucket and a skill bucket, and you want your skill bucket to fill up before your luck bucket ever runs out. So I say we just took a little bit out of the luck bucket. It didn't go into the skill bucket, but the skill bucket had enough in there that we only had to take a little out of the luck bucket.
Like, I feel invincible on the Supermoto. Like, it's just a totally different ride than...
More maneuverable. You feel like you got the freedom to get away from things.
I feel like I could just pick it up from underneath and, like, move it someplace if I really wanted
Almost
to.
can.
So that...
Yeah, so...
That was this year.
I had completely forgotten about this incident. I just washed it out of my head.
I didn't. It's traumatized me and I feel terrible, even though I really didn't do anything wrong.
Like I said, no different than if we would have been out trail riding and you would have tried to put a block pass on me or something.
You know, it's like with we go trail riding for the first time, like big trail riding for the very first time in Michigan, and this girl's never ridden on sand. So what are we riding on?
A lot of sand.
Sand.
A lot of sand.
Mike watched me nearly careen off of a bridge into a post, but I like caught it right. This is.
I'm usually in the front, like kind of leading the trail, so I.
You know what I think it is? I think you have more faith in me. I don't really know that you want to kill me. I think that you just have a lot of faith in my skill.
Probably. I'm the one that taught you.
But then I got the bike buried up to the axle in sand.
Uh-huh. Yeah, you really served Thunderbolt. We're in this whole...
I did!
So we're riding trails up there by Manistee, Michigan, and off of the trails, there's this play area. It's just a big sand bowl with all these hill climbs, and you go up around these trees and trails and stuff. But like, it's called Thunderbolt.
It is, but like when you're trying to see somebody across the Thunderbolt, they look like train layout size people because it's so far away. Like, this thing is gigantic.
It's fun.
I served it.
She did not serve it very well.
Up to the axle.
Well, so me and Mike,
who's on a quad,
was on a 4-wheeler. We're just blazing up these trails and just hitting these hill climbs, just having fun. And she was being a little gun shy. You were riding around a little bit, but you were mostly sitting there watching us hit the hills.
Because I knew from the experiences that I had on the trail so far in that day that if I was doing a hill climb in sand with trees at the top, I wouldn't hit the opening. I would hit a tree. And I knew how far away we were from any kind of cell phone service or help.
Yeah, that's true.
So that would have been imminent death.
And I may have tried to convince her to just go up that hill. Just get it in second or third gear and just gas it all the way up the hill.
So I did.
And she was serving Thunderbolt till about halfway up the hill, and the serving stopped.
The serving just went,
The serving took the dirt bike up to the axle in the back. Mm-hmm. She got off the bike, and the bike just stood there.
It did.
And then I think we tried to get you back on the bike and like gas it to get out of the hole.
It could, yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't going anywhere.
So then I had to like make my own trail and then go up that to the left and then come back down.
Yeah. So it wasn't really a near-death experience. I'd almost kill her, but I send her into situations that she has no idea how to get out of it.
No, but I usually figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
I usually say...
You just said I got more faith in you than you got in yourself.
Probably.
See?
But I will say, like, even when we were going in between those trees, not in the Thunderbolt, and there were like the trees laying down. Mm-hmm. Like, whatever.
Or dead stuff.
I always say, tell me, show me. Do it and show me, and then I'll do it. And that's why it's nice to have seen us, too, because I learn, too, sometimes I just need to see you do it, and I can replicate it and understand what it feels like by doing it. I love going through mud puddles.
Yeah, mud queen over here.
I mean, yeah, that's another video. So
the time you came around the corner in the mud?
That was the best. That was the best in Wabino, and then I fell down.
Oh, God, the mud puddle in Wabino. Again, you haven't really ridden mud.
No. We're just going to do everything that I've never done for the first time.
Going through this, like, pretty decent-sized mud hole.
It was fun.
And then I go through it, Mike goes through it, here comes Michelle. Halfway through it, and it's on its side, goes in a circle.
I'm on the ground. The water was so cold that it was terrible. And water is now up over my boots that are up to my knees, down into my boots. I was a soaking wet mess.
Then
Kept
we went,
riding one, got ice cream.
Yeah, then we went and got ice cream.
It was great. It was a great day. Like, had to hose off a little bit before going into the cabin, but they left it was an Airbnb that we stayed at, and we cleaned it up so well. Just like I walked into the house on the hard floors to the bathroom to shower off, and then cleaned all my footprints. And they're like, "You're the cleanest people. You're welcome to stay here anytime."
Yeah, no idea.
We have non-motorcycle related near-death incidences. I think didn't the kayak come before the flat toe? Or were they very close? Well,
Man,
I think the kayak came first because I got my car in fall of 2017, and that's why I had your truck.
You had my truck because you got the window blown out of yours. Mm-hmm. Oh, that was when your car was new, wasn't it? Okay, yeah.
So I think the kayak situation. Let's end on a high note with the kayak story.
All right, that's a good one.
That's a good one. So I bought my Corolla in 2017, new in fall. December of 2017, I'm on my way to work on a 4-lane highway in town, and a truck going in the opposite direction has like wooden bottle brackets holding bottles for gas.
Yeah, it was like scrap pieces from some sort of bottle holding assembly.
And one flew off of the truck, and I never saw it until it was right in front of my line of vision in my car, spinning like a helicopter blade, and
then in the windshield,
and then glass everywhere. So then Mike was in Illinois. You came to the rescue that day.
I think I was just on my way to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was real early.
Yeah,
I was just driving to work, and this all happened kind of in like near vicinity of where I live, and we weren't too far from anywhere really important.
So I hadn't gotten to the freeway yet, and then I ended up having Chris's truck because you drove my car to your parents' house to leave it to exchange vehicles with them.
And the cop was super cool because there's a hole in the windshield, and it was getting cold out too. It was like cold time of year.
Yeah, because I was in a winter. I remember I was in a winter jacket and I had a scarf on.
Yeah. So I was worried about the car sitting outside with a hole in the windshield, so I said I would take it to my house, and the cop was like cool with me only driving it a little ways to put it in a garage so it could sit until I figured out how to fix it. But in the meantime, she took my truck from there because she had to get to school. As the teacher, can't really be missing days and being late all the time, so we still got her to work in my truck. It was the ride home that didn't go so well.
So we figured out then that my car, I knew where I wanted my car to go. I needed to talk to insurance. Ended up getting my car just out of your parents' garage to the shop, whatever. I think everything was fine. And then I had your truck. I teach like 30 miles from where I live. So I was on my way home from work, and I noticed that the dash lights were kind of dimming, and I'm messaging him.
I forget what your message said, something about the lights are dim or...
The lights are dimming. You're like, just get it home and I'll take a look at it, because you and Mike were together then because we were going to do something. I think we were going out to eat. It was like a Friday.
I think we were going to go out to the corn maze.
Yeah. Yes. Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, it was like doing fall things. Yeah. We still made it to the maze.
Yes. So maybe it was only, it was still fall. So I remember it being really cold though. So then I'm on the way home and I'm just, like humming along in the left lane, trying to get home. And all of a sudden, like everything's going dimmer, dimmer, dimmer. And then I text him and I'm like, all the lights on the dash just came on. And you're like, get home.
Like all the idiot lights were on.
Yeah. And you're like, get home. And then I couldn't even it died. Like the truck died immediately. And then I couldn't pull over because I'm in rush hour traffic. So I couldn't get to the right. So I'm on the left shoulder of the left lane. Meanwhile, these guys are trying to come from where we live.
Yeah, there was like an incident or something on the freeway that had traffic all backed up. So we're trying to
They were only 2 towns over, too.
Yeah, we weren't far from where she was, but we couldn't get on the freeway to get to where she was. So we had to back road into a whole nother town to jump on an entrance to get on the freeway to come up behind to where she was sitting. In the meantime, the truck's not running, the heater's not working, she's freezing her ass off.
It's getting dark out. The hazards are barely working because nothing works in the truck.
Yeah. It ended up being that the alternator died and it used up all of the battery. But we finally get to her on the left shoulder, and me and Mike are in his Ford. Well, the Ford part's irrelevant. We're in his...
But is it though?
Yeah.
Is it though?
So we're in his diesel truck, and we got to get this thing off the freeway because, like I said, traffic is flying by.
It's moving now.
There's construction or an accident. There was something going on.
Yeah.
I remember we were listening to the radio for traffic updates to figure out where we could get on. And I think it was an accident, now that I remember. Because the one exit we wanted, we couldn't use. Or the on-ramp, I mean. So we're on the freeway way behind where she was. But we finally get to where she is. And I'm laying under the truck with all this traffic blowing by. I get a strap under the front cross member. And this, I think, was the first air dam.
Oh, I was gonna say R.I.P. Air Dam 6, but
Well, it could be.
I thought it was like up there.
Well, the most recent ones were just when he told me out of the industrial park over there.
That's another tow,
Yeah.
guys. Yes.
So anyway, we get my truck hooked up to a strap on the freeway, and I'm in my truck, they're in Mike's truck, and we're just cranking through traffic trying to get to the left lane to get off the freeway.
Yeah.
But we ended up doing it with one guy
Son
driving.
of a bitching you out of the window.
Yeah, guy going past, call a fucking tow truck.
Yeah.
I'm like, I did. He was here already.
Mike replied.
Yeah, Mike replied.
So flat toed. Hey.
So I almost killed her, giving her my
Hypothermia.
broken truck.
Yeah. Best for last. I think this is the best near-death experience. Kayaking can be fun and safe, and it was fun and safe for us for years. And then, so where we live, there's a major river that runs through town. And there's like a waterfall area in the downtown area. And then near that waterfall, there are places where there are big steps that go down into the river, so you could go wade. People fish from right
fish
there.
from there.
There's like a little, like a slip almost, like you can fit kayak in. Like it's meant for dropping in a kayak, and then you get moving. But then from there, it goes into a really narrow section of the river, but it's really pretty. And then it goes underneath a footbridge, and then it goes...
Well, we went under the road first. That's where you fell out.
The footbridge by the bus station. We went under first, right?
Yeah, but
By the bank, and then to the street.
yeah, because it was under the bank where it,
Yep.
where it split.
Yeah.
And I got spun around at that fucking divider.
Yeah. So it's like footbridge, street bridge, big open kayak area, then another bridge. Like we knew where we were going, we knew what we were doing. It was gonna be great. It had rained a ton.
Yeah.
So the river
lot.
was high, and when the
High
river
and fast.
when the rivers are high, they move a little quicker. And you had a bug in your ass for the longest time to want to do
It was
this.
fine. Well, because normally the water is kind of low in this area, and it wouldn't really be great for kayaking.
I don't think we could by the bears. There'd be too many
no.
rocks.
But we had had so much rain, the water was high enough that I'm like, we can drop in now, and we can kayak through all this cool stuff downtown.
And just see the city from like a different perspective. Like we're always walking the bridges and stuff because of the farmer's market and just walking around downtown and everything. And so I listened to this guy, and we go drop into. It was a rough morning
I told you I
to
have
start
good ideas.
with. So we go drop in. You were ahead of me, and the river's moving fast, so there's really no need to paddle. We were just steering, and keeping ourselves from crashing into the banks.
Yeah. The first problem we ran into was we're going under the road. There's a road that runs through downtown. The river goes underneath it. But the thing is that the river going underneath it, it kinks 45 degrees one way. So there's a divider in the middle of the river. So it looks like two paths go in and turn and go. Well, when you're in this little under the bridge area, you can see on the left side, you can see in and through the angled bend, you can see out the other side. But with that divider in the middle going forward, and then the divider turns, you can't see into the other side. And the water had pushed me to the right, and I thought that actually dead-ended into like a mesh, screen or something under there. So I thought I was going to get pushed into a place I couldn't get out of. And it turns out that I tried to steer to the left side. My front of my kayak clipped the divider, turned me around.
And these are concrete dividers that hold the bridge. Like it's not just like a post.
Yeah, it's
'Cause,
like a
I'm used to
structural thing.
Yeah. Like it runs the
It's
width.
a solid wall.
Yeah, it runs the width. They run the width of the road on an angle instead of like the poles that we're used to seeing, just like a concrete base and then like a pole.
Like under a freeway or something.
Like totally different. So it's almost like you're blindly going into these slats. So you got to like pick the right slat to go in.
Yeah.
So at that last minute, I think
when I got spun, I hit you. I think that's what knocked you out.
I think what I remember happening is I feel like you didn't want to go in the area where it was open, but you didn't think it was open. And then I tried to steer away from you, but we were going so incredibly fast.
Yeah, we were moving.
Like there was doing nothing as amateur kayakers beside holding on for a ride. So like we had everything we needed. I had my life jacket in my kayak, not on.
Yeah.
And then I had a waterproof like roll down bag with my cell phone in it and my paddle and towels. Like I was sitting on a towel and then the kayak, of course. So then you...
Yeah, I got spun around, but I didn't fall out. But as I got spun around, I could see back. She got flipped, and all I see is her holding onto her kayak with one hand, like your stuff and her paddle in the other hand. So now she's just floating down the river in the water, having to hold on to everything.
So I was trying to avoid crashing into him and hit him, and then when I hit him, I flipped. And we don't have spray skirts or anything on the kayak, so it's wide open, just ready to take on water like a bucket. And so I completely flip over, and I'm still in the kayak, and I'm moving. So I didn't hit the bottom, even though the river isn't super deep, but in that moment, I'm just like wildly scooping out in front of me to grab anything that I know is about to fall out of the kayak underwater. So the water's moving us. I'm doing one of these, trying to grab everything, and I have confidence in my swimming abilities. I know I'm a strong swimmer, but when you're holding your paddle, holding the kayak, I somehow managed to grab the bag with my cell phone in it, grab the towel, and grab my life jacket, and I got all this shit as I'm being pushed down the river, and I come around this bend, and there's a dude fishing.
On the bank.
And I don't even know what I look like. Like, I come up and I can breathe and I got all this shit, and he's like, whoa. And you fly past me because that's all you can do.
The current was so strong, I wasn't able to turn around and go against the current to come back to her. So I think I just yelled, I'll get out of the next bridge.
So he goes and I can't see him anymore, and I get off to the side, and it's all like these giant boulders, and they're all slippery and wet. And the fishing guy, who's, I don't know, he's probably like in his 20s. Like a young enough dude is like, you need a hand? And I'm like pitching shit up onto the bank, and dude had one hand on his pole and never let it go. His line was still in the water, and I'm tossing stuff up toward him and like handing him things. And then I grab my kayak I get up on the bank and grab my kayak by the handle, but now it has, I don't know how many pounds of water in it.
Yeah.
So I managed to pull the plug, the drain plug, on the kayak and let it drain as I'm not sure if I was dead or not. Like, standing there, like...
I'm like 50, 75 yards down.
I couldn't see you.
It wasn't super far, but it's like...
trees and...
Yeah, all the trees and stuff on the side of the bank of the river were like pretty thick. But I got down to where there was another footbridge, and I managed to get into the rocks to stop me. And I got out. I got my shit out of the river, and then ran back down to where she was.
And you're like, "Are you fine? Are you fine?" And I'm like, I still, like, it was the craziest thing. I didn't. He's like, "Let's go. We got to finish."
I'm like, "We could still finish this."
I'm soaking
like,
wet. I'm in clothes, like in running pants and a t-shirt, and I am soaking wet, and I nearly lost everything. And almost died. Maybe did die a little bit. And then he's like, "Let's go."
I'm like, "We've been wanting to do this for so long. We got to finish this."
And
like,
my gut,
already wet. We'll just go.
My gut is like, absolutely fuck not. No more. Like, you got your, like, I like used my get out of jail free card. This one was, you are not passing go. You're not collecting $200. You are going home. Chris disagreed. So then
we dropped back in. I think we got your
We
stuff.
did.
Well, we finished draining out your kayak. Got your stuff together.
Yeah, got
Got it reconfigured.
and then you helped me carry it all back down the bank.
And we got back in where I had already gotten out.
So I'm soaking wet. The river widens at this point. It's calm. Like it's not moving
Slows
nearly
down
as
a little bit.
It's not nearly moving as fast. We're just chilling with our paddles across the top of the kayaks. Now, because it's kind of an overcast, coolish day, I'm freezing and soaking wet. So you have a sweatshirt on top of your
I
t-shirt.
think I gave you my hoodie, didn't I?
I ditched my wet t-shirt and you tossed me your hoodie and I put the hoodie on, so I'm okay.
So I think the sun was starting to come out a little bit because I kind of was warming up a little bit. In a little incident there, I took on a little bit of water, so like my wallet and everything, I didn't think nothing about taking the stuff out of my pants and putting it in a container. So my wallet and everything was kind of wet. So I'm like, oh, the sun's coming out. I'm like, we're moving nice and slow, just floating along. So I get all my stuff out of my wallet. I'm like, got it laid out on the floor of my kayak. The sun's shining. I'm like, we'll dry everything out. We'll be good to go.
And I'm like, we're coming up to this. There's a part that you can get through, and it's under another bridge. But then there's a train trestle, an old train trestle. And my concern was that we weren't going to make it through the train trestle area because I had kayaked through there not too long before, just on my own. Went through the middle. And it was fine, but it was really dammed up with a bunch of debris, like trees and branches and all kinds of stuff. And I was concerned about that. And you were misunderstanding
Yeah, I was confused on
saying.
what bridge she was talking about. And I kept saying, we'll be fine, we'll be fine.
So he was mistaking what
the bridge I was
saying.
thinking of wasn't blocked up. So that's why I was so adamant about saying, we'll be fine. Well, it was the next bridge down that she was talking about where it was actually blocked up.
So I'm behind Chris at this point. We're going along. Chris still has every one of his worldly possessions out
on display. I'm proud of my things.
For the sunshine to dry. His money, his
my keys, my
everything, wallet,
insurance cards, like $17 in cash. I was
just
living big.
Just laying there for the sun to dry it. And then we get to the area and I'm like, it's dammed up.
Yeah, she's a little ways behind me. And to me, I thought I could see a path through, but now the current's moving pretty good, and I was in a bad spot of the river that I couldn't get to the side fast enough, and what I saw was a clearing, or what I thought was an opening, was actually all freaking logs, and the water kind of went down and around. So it was technically water flowing through it, but it wasn't a straight shot, and I couldn't get out of there in time, so I just yelled at her to get to the side. So she's paddling like a maniac, manages to get out of the river. I end up in this log, and where the water was going up over the log, it rolled me, stuck me down on the bottom of the river. I somehow managed to get out. My kayak was stuck on a log.
Your paddle went. I watched your paddle go.
I pulled some kind of muscle I didn't know I had when I was getting out of the water. So I was hanging up on a log like this. I get myself out. Now I'm trying to save the kayak. Well, the water is coming over the log, going in the seat area of the kayak.
And meanwhile, I'm trying
it's like trying to wrangle a 55-gallon drum full of water.
I'm trying to get off to the side, but it doesn't go to like the bank of a river. It goes to muck.
Yeah, it's like a marshy
a marshy area. So I'm watching him drown, and I'm trying to get through here, still soaking wet. Now the sweatshirt's soaked, and
there was just no good area to be. I ended up having to let the kayak go.
He yells to me, because you were holding onto the kayak at that point. You're like, don't come out here.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to walk around and get to him. Like, I would have had to walk across logs and get over there. And he's like, don't come out here. And then
let the kayak go.
It was like Jack and Rose
all my
from
things
the
were gone.
Titanic.
And I just said, lost everything.
How did I let go?
I still don't know how I got from where I was to the shore. Did I go up onto the... No, I couldn't get up on the trestle.
You just walked through all that shit.
Yeah, I had to climb over all them fucking logs and shit.
So then, here we are.
So
I have all my belongings.
That was karma.
And then Chris now has lost not only his wallet, but everything that was in the wallet, that was out of the wallet drying, floated away.
I emptied the whole thing out.
Car keys were gone, paddle was gone, kayak was gone, and here you are, standing looking pitifully.
Soaked.
Nothing. I'm like,
I got nothing.
What do we do? So I had my phone, and we called your parents to
my
help.
parents had spare keys to my truck and brought the keys. Towels. And then from there, we went looking for a kayak. We actually went way out of the way. It actually didn't get far. It went maybe
We got your truck. They took us to your truck.
Yeah.
And then we got your truck, and then we were trying to figure out where the kayak floated to and stopped.
It ended up, it was probably only, 100 yards downstream yet?
Yeah, but
it
we
went down
couldn't-
around a bend. We couldn't see it. But it got itself folded like a banana around a stick, like a stump out of water, and it was around the stump.
So then Chris stalked his kayak for days.
The water was high and fast.
He went
when we
and
found it,
visited.
you could just see a little bit where the water was rushing over it. You could just see a little reddish orange tint under the water.
So you went every day after work to go check on his kayak, make sure 1, it was still there, 2, you wanted to check the water levels, and 3, you wanted to see if the water receded. And we were watching the weather and everything.
I made a big aluminum hook at work, long rod. I bent into a hook so we could get it into the seat area and hook the whole front half of the kayak to try to get it out. But the problem was I couldn't get out to it. The water was still too high. So we came up with this idea.
Let's send Michelle.
We'll put Michelle in the water.
So, what was this, day 4?
I think it was about 4.
So the kayak had filled with water. It was underwater. Water was rushing into it. But we just figured if we could just move it, like, we'll be able to get it out. Like, easy peasy, right?
It wasn't like super stuck. We could see where we needed to get the hook. But the power of water is ridiculous. We just could not move that thing off of where it was bent around that stump.
So then I'm in a long sleeve shirt, running pants, shoes. I've got shoes on to protect my feet, put on a life jacket, and Chris ties a very long rope through the life jacket connected to me around a tree on the shore and sends me out into the river. On the logs.
It was fishing.
And he's manning the rope to make sure that I don't know what. And I'm climbing on logs, and I'm using every ounce of muscle that I have to try to move this kayak in some way.
It would not move.
It would move, but not enough in a position that we were getting. So, scratched and bruised and completely exhausted.
But you did get the hook in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she got the hook I made into the kayak, and then I tied it off to the shore so that if the water went down or whatever, it wouldn't come loose and just go somewhere else.
And I was fishing in there for a wallet or for keys or anything, to no avail. And then I was like, this is, like, we aborted that mission that night, and then I thought, we were just going to have to wait it out. But you still went and visited your kayak every day after work.
Mm-hmm. It was my buddy.
And then...
I think it was about a week.
How did you get it?
It was about a week now at this point. I went after work, and the water was just low enough that I thought I could go out in the water by myself and wrestle with the thing. And I ended up getting it out on my own. But the water, as low as it looked and as slow as it looked, that water is no joke. I struggled to get that thing back to shore. I had to get the kayak off the stump and then right side up so that the water would flow underneath it, like if it was actually floating, so that it wasn't scooping more water and got away from me. So actually, while it was like working like a ski I kind of floated it off towards the shore as I was walking with it, and I found my keys were in there. The only thing I got back was a set of keys.
Somebody got $17 out of you.
Yeah, somebody got my wallet. Bastard, that was a good wallet.
So, I'm not dead.
Yeah. So this is who owns the blue Busa. With any luck, she'll be riding it for a few more years at least.
Well, if it's up to Chris, it would have been for sale already. Or
I don't want to sell it. You're the one that's.
I want to race yet this year.
Yeah, we'll get it.
I really want to, I'm itching to do it. It's one of those things. When you do it for so long and then you don't, it's hard. And you miss it. But I know.
Well, you start to question if you even enjoy it anymore.
I haven't.
Well, that's just me.
I enjoy it. I enjoy racing. Let that publicly be known. I would like to race my motorcycle.
I started to question whether or not I liked it or not until I went back to the track.
Right, but, so you enjoy it. Even if you didn't enjoy it, I'd still enjoy it.
I wouldn't go to the track, though.
That's fine. I had a hitch on the Saturn. You put a hitch on the Corolla.
I will get it back to the track. But anyway, so yeah, I thought that'd be funny to This is why we race together, is because I keep trying to kill her.
And in 12 more years, we'll have probably more fun near-death experiences. Yeah, I mean, like, a perfect day would be we're all back at the track together, racing. Mike in the car, us on the bikes.
Everybody's had something down at a different time, so we've all been able to kind of help with each other. So, yeah, I think it'll be a good year. Or we'll just do more car shows, one or the other.
It's mid-August.
So what? There's more car shows yet.
I don't care about car shows.
I don't care about the track.
I know you don't.
Nah, we'll go racing. I got some more ideas of stuff to do to the bike yet, and we'll get you over when you're not doing school stuff and get you wrenching on your bike again. Plenty to do. Need a battery. Get a battery.
I'll get a battery. That's the only reason I haven't raced. I need a battery.
Yeah. See who's making excuses. All right, we're gonna wrap that one up. Hope you enjoy it. That was fun.
Nitrous Chris and Near Death Michelle.
Yeah. No more near death.
Peacing out.
Yeah. We'll see you in the next video.